Mark, we're going to talk about this more in the next few blocks, but I want to follow up on what Steve just said about how the Clinton campaign believed until 9 o'clock that they had a lock on this, that they were going to win. The fault of that actually lies with the media. And there is some self-reflection. Jim Rutenberg today writes a fascinating article where the New York Times editor and others basically come to terms with the fact that they stopped being journalists over the past month and began being cheerleaders and began being people who had a conclusion that they reached and then searched for facts to show that Hillary Clinton was a 92, 93, 99.999% chance winner of winning this campaign.
Well, how else would you explain it except that they were searching for those facts? I'm wondering, I mean, was it a big aberration or?
No, it wasn't a big aberration. It was there the entire time. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to see it. And I will just say it. When people like Mark, us, Nate Silver, even, and I want you guys to think about this, at the Times and the Washington Post, people I know and love, I want you to think about this, that when anybody even made the suggestion that Donald Trump could be elected president of the United States, it was their journalistic standards that were questioned. When Mark Halperin suggested that there was a pathway forward for Donald Trump as president of the United States, I won't name names because so many of them are my friends, and there's no need to name names now. The time for recrimination is over. But reporters at some of the best newspapers in the world, anchors at some of the best news networks in the world, mocked and ridiculed Mark Halperin. I want you to think about this. They mocked and ridiculed him not for saying that Donald Trump was going to be elected president of the United States. They mocked and ridiculed him for saying there was a slight chance that Donald Trump could be elected president of the United States. Now, if your job, you thought, and Jim Rutenberg did say back in August, the New York Times job and journalist's job now was to defeat Donald Trump. The editor of the New York Times confirmed that. If you really think that's your job, think about this. Think about what you did. You were trying to help Hillary Clinton defeat Donald Trump because you thought Donald Trump would be such a malignant cancer on our constitutional republic. But you did two things. The first thing you did is you put liberals and Democrats and independents who thought like you put them in a position where they were complacent, where they really did believe, not only in New York, but across America and the world, that Hillary Clinton had a 98.999% chance of being elected president of the United States. So if that's the case, why do I have to go to the phone banks? Why do I have to knock on doors? Why do I have to go out of my house at 7 o'clock at night and get in my car and drive 2 blocks over and talk to a friend who's wavering and sit down and explain to them why Hillary Clinton would be best for I don't need to do that.
Why do I have to vote?
You've told me she's got a 98.99% chance of winning, or a 90% chance of winning if we're talking about the upshot. Poor Nate Silver got slammed for saying she had a 70% chance of winning. You understand that? That's the first thing you did. The second thing you did, which I think you're beginning to understand now from reading Jim Rutenberg's really good penetrating article, is you completely ignored the world, the elite cluster that you don't know. You had a complete blind spot, and you wanted to keep it that way. It was much easier for you to stay in Manhattan and say, you know what, they're only voting for Trump because they're racists and bigots. There's no way he can win because they're all just racists and bigots. Well, if you really do believe that, then you believe that 50 million people in America are racists and bigots. And if you really do believe that, then I take pity on you. You still don't understand what Michael Moore, yes? What Michael Moore understands. America is hurting. Economically, middle America is hurting. Read J.D. Vance's book if you don't understand what's going on out there. You don't understand what's going on. And let's face it, I don't understand what's going on out there. But you know what Mark and I did that you didn't do? You know what Mika did that you didn't do? We actually talked to people in Middle America. And they told us they were hurting, and they told us why they were voting for Trump. Mark, my God, Mark, you were with Donald Trump's campaign for the last, what, 72, 96 hours? And you saw crowds in Michigan and these other states, Wisconsin, I mean, Minnesota, crowds that you've never seen before.
Yeah, Sunday on a Circus, we're going to have the tour. Mark McKinnon and I covered Donald Trump for the last 3 days and talked to a lot of voters. And I think you hear those voices, as we heard all year when we traveled and actually talked to people supporting Trump. You said a lot of things I want to respond to. I just want to say one thing. I love the New York Times. I think it's a great institution.
By the way, I need to say this. Point of personal privilege. I love the New York Times. And I read it every day. I've said this time and time again. I have the greatest respect for the reporters over there. I don't know what I'd do. And I know a lot of conservatives are going to, I don't know what I would do without the New York Times. It's how I gauge.
It's not just the New York Times.
I agree, but
I love the Washington Post.
No, but look
at the headline.
Look at the headline of this story.
Look at the headline.
Look at the headline of this story. This is the day after.
Look at it.
A surprising underdog sweeping victory. And their headline is not disaffected Americans have a champion going to the White House or the country votes for fundamental change. The headline's about how disappointed the friends of the people who run the New York Times are about what's happened. I mean, it's amazing.
Democrats, students,
it's amazing to me that this is the headline of the New York Times.
Face the reality of
and not picking on the Times, but it's a great example.
Look at this. Look at this.
Right.
This is staggering. It really is. Mark,
I mean, it's the onion.
This shows that the editors of the New York Times, who I have the greatest respect for them. They don't get it. This is actually
about them.
A Saturday Night Live skit. You went to a cocktail party the night before, and you decided to write this.
It's, and you know, when I thought Trump had a chance to lose, which I did, but I thought he had a chance to win it, I said to liberals, he's going to get 42 million votes. 42 million people are going to vote for him. What are they voting for? And this is their headline.
That's their newsroom.
If a Democratic candidate who was thought to, it said had a 10% chance of winning by the New York Times, had ended up winning and winning red states as Trump won blue states, I don't think that would have been the headline.
No.
And I'll just say again, the responsibility of journalists is to not report on their biases. It's to go out and understand the country through the prism of the election and say, why are people feeling the way they're feeling? And I'm just stunned at how people are reacting.
By the way,
so liberal
look
filmmaker,
at this. Let's talk about
Except
some
I'm not
people
stunned.
who did it right. The Boston Globe. They did it right. It was a seismic shift. Now listen, we're all saying that we thought Trump could have won. We're just as shocked as you that he won the way he did. So nobody's sitting here saying we had a crystal ball. But the thing is, understand, across divide, the Washington Post writes, all eyes on Trump.
Can I just say one more thing?
And yeah, I just want to say the Wall Street Journal had, I think, probably the best headline, a new political order that we all have to grapple with. And I'm going to be depending on the New York Times and their great journalists to help us through this time. But they have got to keep the editorial mumbo jumbo on the editorial page where it belongs.
I covered that Hillary Clinton event yesterday, and her performance was everything you all said it was. It was so moving to see how upset her supporters were, and I understand why they're upset. And I have tons of friends who supported Hillary Clinton. I get why they're upset.
And by the way, I've got to say, I've got friends who are hurt, who were crying all day yesterday. Yeah. And I ache for them. Yeah. They're close friends. I understand what it means when people that you believe in lose. But I've got to tell you, I never had the media focus on my people when the people that I supported, sometimes Democrats, conservative Democrats, lost.
Right. That's the point I was going to make.
Go ahead.
I mean, if Donald Trump had lost, do you think the press would have been so concerned about his supporters and their disappointment? The country's divided. She won the popular vote. There are a lot of people who are really upset about this. But the coverage cannot just be, and the dialogue cannot just be about how upset those people are. I feel so bad for them. The people there, they're hugging each other and crying.
We know them.
Heartbreaking.
Oh, God,
and for her, who, as we said before, she thought at 9 p.m. that she was going to be president. She's thought for weeks she was going to be president.
Well, the whole world did, because the media didn't do their job for the past month.
Right.
Let's just say it.
You want Michael Moore?
Yeah.
Liberal filmmaker Michael Moore responded to Donald Trump's election yesterday with a morning after to-do list posted on Facebook. Besides taking over the Democratic Party and returning it to the people, he advocates to, quote, fire all pundits, predictors, pollsters, and anyone else in the media who had a narrative they wouldn't let go of and refused to listen to or acknowledge what was really going on. Those same bloviators will now tell us we must heal and divide and come together. They will pull more hooey like that in the days to come. Turn them off. He adds, everyone must stop saying they are stunned and shocked. What you mean to say is that you were in a bubble and weren't paying attention to your fellow Americans and their despair. Years of being neglected by both parties, the anger and the need for revenge against the system only grew. Along came a TV star they liked, whose plan was to destroy both parties and tell them all you're fired. Trump's victory is no surprise. He was never a joke. Treating him as one only strengthened him.
Which we said on this program, which I know a lot of people at these newspapers watch, in June of 2015, almost verbatim. We said the more you mock him, the stronger you make him.
And when he came down the escalator, we said this could happen, and the entire room laughed.
Michael Moore predicted that Donald Trump was going to win. Michael Moore did one of the most extraordinary things, and again, this shows how there is a new political order. Michael Moore is somebody that, I mean, we've been at each other's throats.
I'm not sure you two are exactly,
yeah, but you know what? Michael Moore got it better than anybody else this entire campaign. And he did something extraordinary. He did something that we all need to do as Americans that live more and more in our clusters. We live around people who think like us, who vote like us, who worship like us, or don't worship at all. But Michael Moore, actually Trumpland, is Michael Moore talking to Donald Trump supporters and having a conversation with them and understanding them and explaining why they shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And it was an extraordinary exercise. If the media had done it, Hillary Clinton may have won.
All right, still ahead on Morning Joe, graciousness between politicians, but protests did break out in the streets all over the country last night. We'll have more on the complicated aftermath of this election.